everybody. My name is Donna Thiesel, and I'm your host of Afternoon Drive Home on IC in Christ Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications. That's local to North Alabama. You can also find us on nationwide, worldwide television. That's Abundant TV. You can find that on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. We appreciate you listening to us every day, Monday through Friday, from 1 to 3 p.m. Central. As I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. Been doing this a long time, since 2014. So we're real proud to be with you. And thank you so much for letting us come into your home. We definitely appreciate that. Into your home, your, let's say, your social media, your, what else is there, Elizabeth?
I think there's a little bit of everything these days.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you, social media has really helped all of us out a whole lot. I have Elizabeth with me, McElrath, and she's with United Givers Fund. And Elizabeth and I have been involved in different projects before. We were actually in the same company one time, a long time ago. And so I've known her a long time, and I appreciate what you're adding to the United Givers Fund. It's been awesome.
Thank you so much. I know we've been doing a lot here this last year.
Yeah, pretty busy. And of course, COVID gave us all a kickback, every single
Yeah.
thing we did. But we're bouncing right back. So, and I know that you've got the stick to itiveness and have to help make things happen. And so tell us to us about what is the United Givers Fund, Cobb County? What's it about?
Well, we were established in 1958, and we were basically established to help local agencies around the area to help them to get funding for what they needed. And what all of the money that's raised here is raised here in DeKalb County. It stays here in DeKalb County. And so we try to keep that, even though some of our agencies expand out, we keep all of our money that goes into those agencies right here in this town. Right now we support 10 member agencies. We do a campaign in around September this year. It's going to be starting October, and it goes to about November, December. And that's where we get all of our funding to be able to help the organizations that we help.
Now, how do you go about getting the funding?
Well, we do it several ways. Our main bread and butter is our payroll deduction plan. We work with local companies, manufacturing companies, the bigger companies. We go in, we will help you get set up and get everything going. And you just, then we talk to the employees, and they give like 50 cents, $1, $2, whatever they want to give out of each of their pay periods. And then that goes to us. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but when you look at how many people are in an organization and they all contribute, then it kind of builds up over time, and it really helps a lot. Another way that you can donate is during campaign time. We contact everybody, and you can do what's called a pledge. And that just means that you're agreeing to donate during the next year, because like our campaign for this year goes to fund next year. So when you pledge to donate that money goes into our campaign as well and helps us as well. You can also donate anytime by either a snail mail. You can just mail in a check, money order, whatever. You can come by the office and drop off a check, money order, or cash. We do have a drop box out there. If you come by after hours, you can drop it in the drop box. If you prefer to do it online, right now our only online source is to go to our Facebook page, which is United Givers Fund of DeKalb, and just click on the donate button, and you can donate online that way. And also there's another program that's called the QCD program, and I won't go into a lot of detail about it because people can ask their accounts about it. But if you're in retirement and you have those funds that are like major funds that are enough that you need to donate some of them, there is a way you can donate tax deductible, and it comes out and it does not mess up your retirement funds or cause you to pay taxes on it. And they allow you to donate to a charitable organization. So you can also donate to us that way. And we have also had some people that have donated, like if somebody passed away in their family and left them shares of stock, or maybe they just had extra shares of stock, they've left it to us, and we've been able to use that as well. Just any type of donations we'll take.
That sounds good. I wanted to ask you about companies, because I've worked with companies before where all of us employees would just be competitive with each other. I mean, we would just, can a company have some kind of a fundraiser within itself
Yes,
and raise money that way?
Yes, we do that as well. And we will even help with that if you want to do that. If you have an idea, if you don't have an idea, we will help you come up with an idea. We have volunteers that will come in and help with getting it all set up and do it. We love doing fundraisers, and that's a great program too as well. Yes.
And Elizabeth, you've got the heart for it. So we definitely appreciate you having the heart for what you do. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the different agencies that are involved with United Givers Fund.
Yes, we support the ARC, which is they're dedicated to helping adults and children with developmental disabilities throughout the county. I think most people are familiar with the ARC somewhat. And we also support CASA, which is for the aging and homebound. They provide clothing and food and transportation to the doctors and telephone insurance to anybody that's over 60 years old. They also have another partner that we partner with called CASA Helping Hands. They provide handicapped individuals with transportation vouchers to get to doctor's appointments, and also help with the cost of medical equipment that they might need for like diabetes meters, blood pressure cuffs, things like that. And it's not age restrictive. And we also support the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and I think everybody's familiar with them completely. And like I said, that's one of our organizations that is all over. And so our money goes into their corporate office, but the money comes back here to help kids like at Camp Comer, help with, funding of things that they need, and the Girl Scouts, of course, as well. We also fund the DeKalb County Child Development Center through CRN. And of course, that has Head Starts all over DeKalb County. So if you've ever had a kid that's in Head Start or at the Child Development Center, then we've helped them to be able to be there by providing the funds for that. Another great organization, which we just added in the last few years, is Liberty Learning Foundation. And they go into the schools and teach about the next grade, to help them to be the next great Americans. They teach them about patriotism and civic education and life experiences about community and country. They are just so great. The kids love them. I mean, I got to go to one of the programs this past year, and I was just in awe of it all. I didn't realize all they did. It's just so amazing. And they go into most of the schools here, and they're expanding out and getting into the other schools as well. So, and they're another one that's an agency out of somewhere else that we support here, what they do here. We also support Kelly's Rainbow, which is also another organization that's not here, but we support here, and that's for domestic violence victims. They provide them with a place to stay, any kind of help they need to get, set up and started and get going after getting out of an abusive situation. So that's a really good organization as well. And we've also added the USO, and we try to support our local military here with that. And I think everybody knows the USO. They help with all kinds of things with the military families to help them to get what they need as well during times that they need. I know they were a big help during COVID. So so it's just agencies like that help. We also support the Salvation Army. We have to give, so that they can stay here, we give it to the thrift store, but the thrift store goes back into the community. All those funds go back into the community for things like utilities and rent assistance, or like if somebody's house burned down and say they don't have insurance and they need a place to stay, they can put them up in a hotel. They just do a lot of things. I can't even begin to tell all that they do. They can help with medicine and shelter and transportation. They're just really great.
Well, there's help all over with the United Givers Fund, and we definitely appreciate all of that. Absolutely. I wanted to ask another way too, because are there times you need, say, coats, blankets, because wintertime is coming on, and a lot of folks can't afford to get out there and buy extra clothing for the kids. Are there agencies that would help with that, or can folks just donate to you guys and you disperse it?
There are agencies that help with that, and they can contact us and I can give them those agencies. We also have done some things like we've done the angel tree in the past for the Christmas and put it here at the office. This year we had through Mark for Life and the Hope Center, we had the box for the back to school supplies. We are partnering, even with other agencies that we don't necessarily have on our list yet, that we are looking at. But we've been partnering with them. So if you do have any items like that and would like to drop them by the office, you can, and we'll be glad to get them to those agencies, or you can contact me and I will tell you what agencies are doing those collections, because we have a lot of great agencies here in Fort Payne that are doing those top things.
No, you bet you do. I'm going to tell you some very good agencies. We're lucky to have folks who are so driven and have the heart for what they do. And you see that all through DeKalb County. I wanted to ask you another thing, and that's about volunteering. Could you guys use volunteers periodically?
Yes, we really need volunteers. We'll take volunteers anytime. I can always use help here at the office, or just, doing things, running around town or whatever. But we mostly need help during campaign season, because that's our biggest time. That's when we're getting our most support. And right now we're fixing to get into that. We have not set a date yet. We've got one more board meeting and we should have our date set. And I'll have that posted on our Facebook page once we do. But I've already getting volunteers in. I've got several right now, but we need a whole lot more, because we cover all of DeKalb County. So I need people going out to all of DeKalb County to help us let everybody know about campaign. Or if there's individuals that would like to do a fundraiser, it doesn't just have to be a business. It could be like a church, an organization, or something like that wants to do a fundraiser with us. We would be glad to do that as well. I mean, I love raising the funds for this, and it's not because of anything that it does for me. It's because a lot of our agencies rely on what they get from us to be able to finance their whole entire year. And if they thought that they weren't getting funds from us, it would just mess them all up. So that just gets my heart really going for this, because I feel that need from them pulling on us. So I pull on others to try to help us.
Absolutely. I just love what you guys are doing. I wanted to mention a couple of folks who are with you guys. One of those is CASA, and it's the Care Assistance for the Aging and the Homebound. And I just wanted to mention that Lynn Hickson out there helps my mother save a lot of money. And this is on her medications. And I had told Mother about Lynn, because Lynn has been on the show before. We need to get her back on, by the way. And it's just a money saving for folks who are retired. I mean, it's just because a lot of folks are getting Social Security, and it's just not much to live on. So in a lot of cases, the money you can save is like money earned.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Lynn is great, and she does a lot of work with that too as well. And she's actually at the Council on Aging, and but she does help with CASA, but they also help with meals for people that need meals brought to their homes as well, and get them food and stuff like that too. I mean, they're great with the seniors as well too. Them partnering with CASA has been just such a blessing.
It's been huge. And I know of several folks who maybe they had a stroke or something. And so they have actually helped build ramps to go into
Yes.
people's homes. And I'm going to tell you what, anybody who has, if you ever broken a leg or sprained an ankle or something like that, it's hard to walk up steps. I mean, really, I've done that before. But to have had a stroke and not be able to walk up steps that you're normally walking up, that's just a huge blessing.
Yes, it is. It is. It really is.
Yeah, and the art has been awesome. I know, letting folks have their own space, so to speak, where they can have their own home. And
Yeah.
that's remarkable.
And helping them feel like they're independent and can do things on their own is just amazing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And other branches there as well, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and all of those things. Kelly's Rainbow. I think that's really awesome. I know people who have been in abusive situations before, and they couldn't see a way out. And they have really helped a lot of women and men.
And a great thing too is, since we're starting campaign in October is Domestic Violence Month. So that's a good time for us to promote them as well as promoting us. So it's really huge that they be aware of that, and the fact that they can get help and they can get out, because I've had a couple of classmates, and then I've met a couple of families around DeKalb County who have lost a member of their family to domestic violence. So it's so important that they get out of these situations before they're no longer with us, period. So it's just so amazing.
Well, I hope the big part of COVID is way behind us. I hope so, because that disrupted a lot of lives. Were you guys able to help folks in a situation, maybe to get medication when COVID hit?
Well, when COVID hit, I wasn't I wasn't the executive director here. I actually started in January of 2021, and the previous director that was here, they kind of shut down for COVID. So I don't think they did very much during COVID here, but I do know that our member agencies were still open and we're still doing what they were doing, and we were still supporting them even though we weren't in the office at that time. And another thing that I had forgot to mention is that we also are on United Way's 211 program. So a lot of people from other states come in. A lot of people in DeKalb County don't know about 211 because it's not advertised like it is in the bigger cities. But in the bigger cities, you can call 211 and they give you information on where you can find help if you need help or assistance with a certain thing. Well, when it comes to DeKalb County, they forward all the calls here. So I get those calls as well too, so that I can help them. So I'm also compiling a list of resources. So if there's anybody out there that helps people or does things or has information that somebody might need, I'm networking with other agencies and getting together with other people and meeting them to find out what all we have available here in DeKalb County besides just our member agencies, so that if there is a need, I can send those people to those places to get help.
Absolutely. The abuse of children really gets to me. When I find a kid has been misused or been mistreated, it just really gets all over me. So I know that you guys are strong on helping individuals that are suffering with that as well.
Yes, yes. And actually, this is not part of United Givers Fund, but I am a member of CASA, which is the Court Appointed Special Advocates. It's not the CASA that we support. It's another CASA.
Mhm.
And what we do is we represent the kids that are in court systems in cases, whether it be through DHR or just a custody battle or something like that. The judge assigns us, and what we do is we basically do what DHR does. It's just because we're volunteers and there's enough of us. Like I only have like one or two cases at a time, where a DHR worker may have 30 to 40. And so I can go out on my cases and I can spend more time with the family, spend more time with the kids, do more research than they can do, so that I can find out what's best for the children. And then we make a recommendation to the judge. We are not lawyers. We are not, DHR. We're not none of that stuff. So, and we don't claim to be. We just gather information, put it together in a report, give it to the judge and to the attorneys involved in the case, so that they can make the best decisions about what they're going to do with these kids. So, and I
Absolutely.
think that's a great organization and a great help for the kids. And I mean, and if they need volunteers as well, and when we do this, I mean, just the love of these kids is just so amazing. I just love these children.
Yeah, you're letting those kids know there's a different world.
Yes, yes.
And that's
And
what's
I stay in touch with them. I call them every now and then, especially the teenagers. I'll call them every now and then. I'll be like, "Hey, how's it going? You better be on your grades. You better, just kind of like little mama bear in the background, even though they have a mom or a dad or a grandparent or somebody that's taking care of them. I just kind of, they say it takes a village, so I just add to it. I'm like that extra aunt out there that's giving that little push to them. So
absolutely. And I'll say this too about kids. Kids need all the loving they can get. I'm going to tell
yeah,
you what, parents are just busy right now trying to make ends meet, both parents working. And, in a lot of cases, parents are out of state from their parents, which means you don't really have the fallback sometimes with grandparents. And then there are
right.
grandparents who are actually raising their grandkids. Is there any help for those grandparents right now? Because I'm just a different generation when kids are born knowing how to use social media and those kinds of things.
Yes, there's another organization that I am on their advisory board, and they're called Kids and Kin, and they meet at the Coal and Iron Building on I want to say every other Monday, but it's not every other Monday. You kind of have to get the schedule, but it's on Mondays from 10 to 12. It's very short meeting, but it's so informative. I go because it gives me my credit hours for my CASA volunteering, because we have to be trained on that. And it just helps me with the kids, to know them better and to know how to deal with them better, even though my kids are grown, now I understand better and see things. And they have some really good experts that come in and talk about all different things from when they're toddlers, how they should, what they should and shouldn't be doing, you know, how their growth is, and if they're slow, what you can do to help them, and you know, just everything all the way up into the older age, you know, where you get into other things. And they also have CPR training as well. So, and the great thing about it is if you go to if you, and it's for anybody that's a caregiver of kids. I mean, you can be an aunt, an uncle, a sister, a brother, just a babysitter, teacher, whatever. If you take care of somebody, it's supposed to be if you take care of somebody else's kids, but I mean, even if it's your own kids, you can still come. And if you get 10 credit hours, which is if you go to 10 different classes, then at the end of those classes, they have a book that you can pick out up to $150 worth of learning materials that you can keep, that you can take home to your kids or use for your classroom if you're a teacher, or, you know, just whatever you want to do with them. They're yours to keep. And it's just so amazing. And just what they give is it's just awesome.
It is. When my son was born 43 years ago, I looked around him. I didn't see a manual that came with him. So we could
No,
all use help.
definitely. I know when I had my kids, Dr. Spock was out. It was that book, Dr. Spock, and now they've said that all that stuff was wrong that he taught us. After you learn everything, they tell you it's all wrong anyway.
I
So,
know. I
and,
know. There were a
and
couple of things.
I raised one of my grandkids, and I know that it's totally different raising your
Oh, yeah.
grandkids, because then you feel differently towards your grandkids. It's not like your kids, you know, and you tend to try to want to spoil them when you can't spoil them. And so it's a totally different environment. So having something like that can help you, you know, to learn the process and help you with your kids and help you understand them. I actually ran into one of my grandson's teachers that had worked with him that was doing a program, and she said, if I had, and when she got done, she looked at me and she said, you're Jamal's grandmother. I said, yes. And she said, if I had known this stuff when I had him in class, it would have been so different. And I said, if I had known this stuff when I was raising him, it would have been so different. I said, it's just, I mean, because they've learned so much since then. And I mean, it's just awesome, the things that they're learning and how they're changing and growing to help these kids.
It really is. And that's something that's really interesting. Like they're born knowing how to use an iPad. And if
Hmm.
you're a grandparent and you're not that much into computers and stuff like that, those kids can get into trouble if you're not educated. It's all about education.
Yes, it is.
I know
Definitely.
I know. Now, my mother knows as much about computers as I do, just about it. So she could probably teach the grandkids a few things. But there have been, we used to talk about this generation, there was a generation gap. There really is one if you don't know a lot about computers and the grandkids do.
There sure is. There definitely is.
Another thing that we talk about too, I was talking with Sheriff Weldon, he's on the show quite frequently, and he was talking about, people who were brought into the United States and promised a better world. They're, oh, you're going to live a really good world. And he's talked about people coming through I-59, they have to stop human trafficking.
Hmm.
And that's a big thing too. And I think it's probably a huge money maker, kind of taking over with drugs. People used to make a lot of money on drugs. And so he said they made it was just a routine stop one time. One of the deputies just noticed the guy was driving a little weird. So pulled him over, and there were a couple of girls in the back seat, and they were crying. And he knew something was up. Spoke no English whatsoever. So they brought them all in, and come to find out, they were promised a better world. And so they were using those girls in ways they shouldn't be using them in.
Yes, I've been very fortunate with CASA. I know the judge has been really big on, especially if a Hispanic family files for custody of a child. Like we've had a lot of children that have come over here from Mexico to stay with their grandparents, and their grandparents are filing for custody so that they can, get them to the doctor and do everything they need to get them in school. And so the judges put us on those cases for that particular reason, to make sure that they're not being trafficked. And I can say honestly, I'm very grateful and thankful that none of the ones I have had to visit have that's been the case. It's been great, the ones that I visited, because the grandparents were just really nice, and they were just really, trying to give the kids a better life, seriously. So it warms your heart when you see stuff like that, but it also hurts your heart when you see the other situations. So yeah.
I wanted to mention our judges. We've got some of the best judges around. And I know
Mhm.
some of them, I've heard about divorce cases where the parents are fighting in front of the kids and they'll set the parents straight. I mean,
Mhm.
it's about the kids, it's not about them getting a divorce.
That's right.
And those things are needed as well. We have just a little bit over 4 minutes left in this segment. I know we need to really start pumping what's going to be happening the next few weeks with your fundraising. What are some ways we mentioned a few of those, but what are some ways we can help just as individuals out there to get that word out?
You can share, go to our page, share our page, tell people to like our page, explain to them, that we're going into campaign, what we're doing. If you want to, you can come by the office or you can call me and I can get you some flyers and information that you can get out. I know that we're going out and speaking to all the schools, Fort Payne City schools as well as DeKalb County. And so there's a lot of schools to talk to. So, if you're involved in the schools, you can mention it in the school system. If you're working for a company and you would like to payroll deduct and you haven't heard anything about, them doing our payroll deduction, you can go to your HR manager, and say, hey, I'm interested in giving to this company. They say you can do it through payroll deduction. How can we get involved in this? And tell them to get in touch with me and we can come out and talk to them, because we are working to try to get in all the organizations here, all the companies, and there's a lot of big companies that we're still not in that we would like to be in. So that would be a great help. Or like you said, if you want to do a fundraiser, I mean, church, individuals, anybody will be glad to do a fundraiser and help you out with it, just to get something going. Or if you have somewhere you want me to speak, I'm always available to speak. I'll be glad to come speak to any organization, let them know what we do. You can like I said, you can make a pledge for next year. It does not have to be given right away. You can pledge it and give it over quarters. You can give it monthly. You can give it one time a year, just however you feel easiest to do it. And we accept it from individuals, organizations, companies, just anybody. I mean, nobody's money's turned down for sure.
Absolutely. A lot of folks give because they want to give. We've got so many kind-hearted people in this area, but there are also some benefits to giving too. And part of that is you can write this off on your taxes. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, we are a 501(c)(3). So all your deduction, everything you give is tax deductible. Even when you give through payroll deduction, it is tax deductible.
Well, you know what? I know a lot of companies that compete against each other. Used to be in the cell phone industry, and I used to work for GTE, and one of my friends used to be called Bell South Mobility back then. Now it's AT&T. And she and I used to get involved in fundraisers like that back in the day, back in the 90s, when cell phones first came out. And so we would get involved in a lot of fundraisers and just try to outdo each other, competitors outdoing each other. It was a friendly competition. Jan and I were good friends. But we would just get together and just maybe some of you folks, maybe radio folks might want to get together or not get together and go in competition and see who can raise the most money. That'd be a good
Yeah, and
idea.
we have a leadership level that you can donate at, so you can be a leadership. And we do give out awards to the companies that contribute to our organization. We give for the most, for like the most donors, for the most this, for the most that, and we usually have our big annual banquet in like April or May of next year. We'll have it, and we'll invite everybody, including all the payroll deduction companies, and the member agencies will be there, and we will give out awards and just give out recognition and just recognize everybody. We love to recognize our givers. We just appreciate them so much.
Absolutely. And I'm just so proud it all stays right here in DeKalb County. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being on the show today. You're a pleasure. You're
Thank you
awesome.
for having me. I appreciate it so much.
We appreciate everything you're doing to the community to make DeKalb County a much better county.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
And
Thank you.
folks, thank you so much for watching Afternoon Drive Home. We're going to let you go in just a few minutes. We're going to have another awesome guest. Elizabeth, thank you so much. We all love you in DeKalb County.
Thank you.